Before we begin today, I just want to clarify a little quirk in the calendar as we merge 2 months together. Generally, we post 8 lessons per month, but tomorrow is the 29th, tomorrow's the 29th,
28.
28th, Monday is the 29th, Tuesday is the 30th, and Wednesday is the 1st. So in this 1 week, 2 months will merge. So what I'm doing is making a lesson 9 for November, which will be posted tomorrow night, posted on Monday on the calendar. And then Wednesday is December 1st. So both the November lesson 9 and December lesson 1 will be covered in next week's Zoom. Also, for those who might not know it, each one of our courses is an individual month. So if you want to participate in the December study, then you have to enroll in that course. So just log into sadhusangaonline.com, click Canto 3, then click the December modules title and click Enroll Me, and you'll automatically be enrolled. So please keep that in mind. And now we'll continue. I'll put on the course topics. Oops. Okay, we're continuing Uddhava's description along with that calendar that I just mentioned. What will happen is that we're continuing this conversation between Uddhava and Vidura all the way through December 16th will be the last posted lesson. And then we'll take a couple weeks off because from our experience previously, been doing this for more than 10 years now, during Christmas time, people become distracted by all the different holiday events. So rather than trying to fit it in, we'll just stop at the end of Uddhava and Vidura's conversation. And then in January, on January 3rd, I think is the Monday, we'll post the first lesson for January. And that's when Vidura will travel north to Hardwar and meet Maitreya, and a whole new section of instructions and conversations will begin. But for now, we're in November 2021, lessons 7 and 8. And I'll do the first one. Canto 3, Chapter 2, Text 25. Uddhava continued. The personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, being prayed to by Brahma to bring welfare to the earth, was begotten by Vasudeva in the womb of his wife, Devaki, in the prison house of the king of Bhoja. Purport. The Lord has no business in this world, but when he is so requested by devotees like Brahma, he descends to the earth for the welfare of the earth, of the entire universe. This is stated in the Bhagavad Gita 4:8. Paritanaya sadhunam, vinashaya taduskritam, dharma samstarpanataya, sambhavami yuge yuge. Is Guru Prasad with us today?
Yes.
He just wrote an interesting comment in a post that came just before I turned on in the forum. He was surprised by this word begotten, that the Lord was begotten by Vasudeva in the womb of Devaki because he's unborn. This is one of those quirks. Also, Premananda wrote a nice forum topic on the different contradictory natures or statements about Krishna. But in this particular context, Guru Prasadam, I think the word begotten is used because if you remember, Vasudeva, the Lord entered his heart, and then he transferred that vision to Devaki. So in that way, begotten could be used.
Okay. So let's continue with Elizabeth. Why don't you read this one for us?
Okay, Mataji. Thereafter, his father, being afraid of Kamsa, brought him to the cow pastures of Maharaj Nanda, and there he lived for 11 years like a cowherd flame, like a covered flame, with his elder brother Baladev. Purpura by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. There was no necessity of the Lord's being dispatched to the house of Nanda Maharaj out of fear of Kamsa's determination to kill him as soon as he appeared. It is the business of the Asuras to try to kill the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or to prove by all means that there is no God, or that Krishna is an ordinary human being and not God. Lord Krishna is not affected by such determination of man like Kamsa's class, but in order to play the role of a child, he agreed to be carried by his father to the cow pastures of Nanda Maharaj because Vasudeva was afraid of Kamsa. The Lord enjoys more when someone takes him as his subordinate son who needs the protection of a father than he does when someone accepts him as the Supreme Lord. He is the father of everyone and he protects everyone. But when his devotee takes it for granted that the Lord is to be protected by a devotee's care, it is transcendental joy for the Lord. Thus, when Vasudeva, out of fear of Kamsa, carried him to Vrindavan, the Lord enjoyed it. Otherwise, he had no fear from Kamsa or anyone else.
Very good. Thank you. We'll just go on now with Premananda.
Okay, before we go, just one point that's kind of interesting, very interesting actually, is that Krishna stayed in Vrindavan for 11 years. It was actually a little more, 11 and a half. But so when Akrura came to get Krishna to fight in Mathura to join the wrestling match, invited by Kamsa, he was just a little more than 11 years old. Sometimes that's a confusing topic.
I did have a question about that, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So, yeah. So I was thinking, because he, the description of the pastimes go out to the rasa dance, and that it's included in these 11 years, isn't it?
Yes, he was only 8 years old during the rasa dance.
Mm-hmm.
In the beginning of the rasa dance chapter, it's very elaborately described how the previous year, all the different events that happened around Govardhan Hill and the lifting of Govardhan Hill, because it says in the autumn night, the moon rose. So Viswanath Chakrabarti Thakur has written an elaborate commentary on the astronomical situation of the stars during the previous year when Krishna was 7. And he points out that therefore this rasa dance happened when he was 8. Mm-hmm. So he stayed for a few more years after that before Akrura came.
So the devotees, you understand, according to the depth of, how you go into Krishna consciousness. But it's really amazing how so many people, like Prabhupada states, I think he says on the introduction to Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, that a lot of the people that are not, with their Krishna consciousness developed, go immediately to the rasa dance to read that, taking it more in that sexual content. But if you think about it, even he's playing the role of an 8-year-old child.
Yes, that's one of the comments made by the acharyas.
That also gives us another clue at the mercy of Krishna revealing these pastimes, but we always have to remember that he is the Supreme Lord and we are conditioned souls who have been influenced by the material energy since time immemorial. So if we really want to develop that intimate relationship with Krishna, we have to follow the procedure, engage in sadhana bhakti the way it's been delivered by the acharyas, and also be a little patient, a lot patient. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth. Let's go on now with Premananda.
Okay, Srimad Bhagavatam 3:227. In his childhood, the Almighty Lord was surrounded by cowherd boys and calves And thus he traveled on the shore of the Yamuna River through gardens densely covered with trees and filled with vibrations of chirping birds. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Nanda Maharaj was a landholder for King Kamsa, but because by caste he was a Vaishya, a member of the mercantile and agricultural community, he maintained thousands of cows. It is the duty of the Vaishyas to give protection to the cows, just as the Kshatriyas are to give protection to the human beings. Because the Lord was a child, he was put in charge of the calves with his cowherd boyfriends. These cowherd boys were great rishis and yogis in their previous births, and after many such pious births, they gained the association of the Lord and could play with him on equal terms. Such cowherd boys never cared to know who Krishna was, but they played with him as a most intimate and lovable friend. They were so fond of the Lord that at night they would only think of the next morning when they would be able to meet the Lord and go together to the forest for cowherding. Purport continued. While playing like a small child with his associates, the Lord killed many demons, including Agasura, Bakasura, Pralambasura, and Gardabhasura. Although he appeared in Vrindavan just as a boy, he was actually like the covered flames of a fire. As a small particle of fire can kindle a great fire with fuel, so the Lord killed all these great demons, beginning from his babyhood in the house of Nanda Maharaj. The land of Vrindavan, the Lord's childhood playground, still remains today, and anyone who visits these places enjoys the same transcendental bliss, although the Lord is not physically visible to our imperfect eyes. Lord Chaitanya recommended this land of the Lord as identical with the Lord and therefore worshipable by the devotees. This instruction is taken up especially by the followers of Lord Chaitanya, known as the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And because the land is identical with the Lord, devotees like Uddhava and Vidura visited these places 5,000 years ago in order to have direct contact with the Lord, visible or not visible. Thousands of devotees of the Lord are still wandering in these sacred places of Vrindavan, and all of them are preparing themselves to go back home, back to Godhead.
Thank you, Premananda. I have a question for you. It says that the Lord is non-different than the Dham. What else is he non-different than? What other aspects?
His form, his qualities, his name. I think the most important is his holy name. That's non-different from him. And in this age of Kali Yuga, and especially for us, I think that's a great benediction that we can be always associated with the Lord just through his holy name.
Very good. Thank you. You have anything else to say about what you just read? That was a great answer. Thank you. That was just what I was looking for. And you have to come next year to the festival.
I will.
I'm just
I didn't know I would have planned.
about hearing the holy name. Yeah. So wonderful. Okay. Do you have something else to add to this?
Well, I was kind of that sentence right where it says all his cowherd boys and friends were rishis and saints in their previous ages. So it's basically a question. So I know that Krishna's associates are Nitya Siddhas, they're liberated souls. So does this mean that all the rishis and saints who got elevated to be associates of Krishna, they were conditioned souls at one point of time and they became liberated souls? How does that work?
Oh boy. But you want to take that one? That is not a lightweight question.
No,
Right.
But it's answered in the chapter, especially regarding the different types of gopis that were described when Krishna blew his flute. There are different categories of gopis and their responses are described. So similarly, we can understand that some of the cowherd boys were Nitya Siddhas who had advented with Krishna, taken birth along with him, advented from the spiritual world. But it's nice that you brought this up because it's encouraging to know that our sojourn will take us to that place where Krishna is performing his pastimes somewhere. It's described that the sadhana siddhas, once a soul becomes mature and qualified to at least associate with Krishna and his Nitya Siddha associates, then when the soul leaves this body, they generally don't go directly back to the spiritual world, but they go to the place where Krishna is performing his pastimes in the particular universe where that's happening. They transfer universes from where they were to that one where Krishna is performing his pastimes. And then as they grow in that body, which will be similar to their spiritual body, they associate with those Nityasiddha devotees who advented with Krishna and become fully mature, so that at the end of that life, they go back to the spiritual world. So what's being described here is those devotees, those yogis and rishis were so perfected that they could actually play with Krishna like a normal cowherd boy, but they were sadhana siddhas. Otherwise, it wouldn't have described them as previously yogis and rishis.
Wow.
Thank you. That's a beautiful answer.
Good point.
It was. Thank you. That was beautiful. All right. Let's go on with Faye reading. Faye?
Mataji, please forgive me. My voice is very hoarse and I'm coughing. I'll
Oh,
try
is-
my best.
Okay. Seems to be a lot of people are asking not to read, but that's our inhibition from the body. What can be done?
Yes,
Go
ma'am.
on.
Srimad Bhagavatam 3.2.28. When the Lord displayed his activities just suitable for childhood, he was visible only to the residents of Vrindavan. Sometimes he would cry and sometimes laugh, just like a child, and while doing so, he would appear like a lion cub. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. If anyone wants to enjoy the childhood pastimes of the Lord, then he has to follow in the footsteps of the residents of Vraj, like Nanda, Upananda, and other parental inhabitants. A child may insist on having something and cry like anything to get it, disturbing the whole neighborhood. And then immediately after achieving the desired thing, he laughs. Such crying and laughing is enjoyable to the parents and elderly members of the family. So the Lord would simultaneously cry and laugh in this way and merge his devotee parents in the humor of transcendental pleasure. These incidents are enjoyable only by the residents of Vraj, like Nanda Maharaj, and not by the impersonalist worships of Brahman or Paramatma. Sometimes, when attacked in the forest by demons, Krishna would appear struck with wonder, but he looked on them like the cub of a lion and killed them. His childhood companions would also be struck with wonder, and when they came back home, they would narrate the story to their parents, and thus everyone would appreciate the qualities of their Krishna. Child Krishna did not belong only to his parents, Nanda and Yasoda. He was the son of all the elderly inhabitants in Vrindavan, and the friend of all contemporary boys and girls. Everyone loved Krishna. He was the life and soul of everyone, including the animals, the cows, and the calves.
Thank you, Faye. Can you tell me something about that? Because I was just thinking how Krishna is so kind that we all have an individual relationship with him, and that's satisfying to each soul. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
The Lord's pastimes are enlivening to me to read. They are so very sweet. The innocent times, the scary, frightening times, everyone is gathered around Krishna thinking only of him. And even if I read a little bit into the lines there about the animals, The birds in the trees were definitely enjoying listening to him play his flute, watching him play. We think of the monkeys in Vrindavan enjoying the butter. Imagine being able to take butter directly from the hand of Lord Krishna as a monkey. So it doesn't really matter who you are in Vrindavan. Your entire focus is serving the Lord, being with the Lord, thinking only of Him. And I love how sweetly His devotees have such a wonderful reciprocal relationship with Krishna. They don't see Him as a supreme Lord. They see Him as everything. And that gives Lord Krishna great pleasure.
That's beautiful. Sounds like you have been contemplating this for some time. It's really, really wonderful. Thank
It
you.
is.
One point that's kind of an interesting appendix to what she just said was that even when he was crying in the neighborhood, which disturbs the whole neighborhood, generally only the parents and family members really enjoy this crying and laughing of their children. Some of the other neighbors might not enjoy it so much. But with Krishna, everybody enjoyed it. He's such a lovable character and lovable person that everyone actually appreciated it. It was sweet. It wasn't disturbing.
Thank you. Prabhupada says that he tells a story how if a child is crying, there was a child who was crying in class one day, and you could hear that child. It wasn't in the class; it was just outside. And Prabhupada said that is the difference of a body. The child's body, he can disturb for 4 miles. Prabhupada says, that everyone laughed. For 4 miles, that child could be heard. And he was showing us how the different kinds of bodies, because if someone screamed, an adult screamed, you couldn't hear that child, that scream for very far. But a child's body is such that even though he's little, that scream will carry for 4 miles, Prabhupada was saying. Very sweet. So thank you, Faye. That was beautiful. Chaitamayi, would you like to continue for us? Continue reading.
Haribol.
Haribol.
Srimad Bhagavatam 3:229. While herding the very beautiful bulls, the Lord, who was the reservoir of all opulence and fortune, used to blow his flute, and thus he enlivened his faithful followers, the cowherd boys. Purport. As he grew to 6 and 7 years old, the Lord was given charge of looking after the cows and bulls in the grazing grounds. He was the son of a well-to-do landholder, who owned hundreds and thousands of cows. And according to Vedic economics, one is considered to be a rich man by the strength of his store of grains and cows. With only these two things, cows and grain, humanity can solve its eating problem. Human society needs only sufficient grain and sufficient cows to solve its economic problems. I love this one, all other things but these two are artificial necessities created by man to kill his valuable life at the human level and waste his time in things which are not needed. Lord Krishna, as the teacher of human society, personally showed by his acts that the mercantile community, or the Vaishyas, should herd cows and bulls and thus give protection to the valuable animals. According to Smriti regulation, the cow is the mother and the bull the father of the human being. The cow is the mother because, just as one sucks the breast of one's mother, human society takes cow's milk. Similarly, the bull is the father of human society because the father earns for the children. just as the bull tills the ground to produce food grains. Human society will kill its spirit of life by killing the father and the mother. It is mentioned herein that the beautiful cows and bulls were of various checkered colors, red, black, green, yellow, ash, etc. And because of their colors and healthy smiling features, the atmosphere was enlivening. Over and above all, the Lord used to play his celebrated flute. The sound vibrated by his flute would give his friends such transcendental pleasure that they would forget all the talks of Brahmananda, which is so praised by the impersonalists. These cowherd boys, as will be explained by Shukdev Goswami, were living entities who had accumulated heaps of pious acts and thus were enjoying with the Lord in person and were hearing his transcendental flute.
Thank you. We had a discussion about that, thinking about the cowherd boys playing with Krishna, and then all of a sudden discussing Brahmananda realization. So that was kind of like, usually little boys don't talk about these kinds of things, you know? So that was kind of interesting. Do you have something else to add to that?
Amazing.
Oh,
Yeah, if I could just look at the verse again, there's quite a few things, nice points in that.
Also, I wanted you to talk about living for Krishna or living to satisfy our senses, which I think that purport brought up.
Okay. Living for Krishna is the only way we're going to release ourselves from this material existence and come into our true nature, who we really are and what we are actually supposed to be doing. But we came here because we thought the reason for our existence is to satisfy our senses and have a good time at what we presume is the hotel of this material planet Earth. But actually, this is a hospital, and we're here to turn ourselves around so that we can reorient ourselves to our actual, the place where we're most natural, which is as a servant, to serve him. But if we serve our own senses, we're just guaranteed to be completely perplexed, frustrated, and actually we'll have to come back again and again. So it's we are so fortunate to come upon this wonderful sadhana bhakti.
Thank you. Prabhupada does not beat around the bush. Grains and milk. I was thinking, what about vegetables? But are we thinking to satisfy our own senses, or are we thinking how to serve Krishna? And you have to be like honest with yourself to really take this seriously. You know, we're all eligible. We can all go back to Godhead. We can leave this material world, but we have to release it. We have to start living to satisfy Krishna's senses and become a little renounced in our own sense gratification. It comes down to that, you know.
I really appreciate that sentence concerning about the grains and the milk being all that we need, and other things are just ways of killing ourselves. And I'm living with people who are constantly on the internet trying to find the latest technology, and they use all of their resources and energy to buy these things. And within a few years, these items are obsolete,
right?
Useless. And so,
God.
what's the point? But people don't know any better. They're so illusioned by the glitter that they get caught up in it. And it's such a waste of human life. It really
is. Basically, very true. Thank you.
Evil.
Let me see the next Manvantara. Can you read the next two slides, and that will take us to the end of this chapter 2.
Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 2, Text 30. The great wizards who were able to assume any form were engaged by the king of Bhoja, Kamsa, to kill Krishna. But in the course of his pastimes, the Lord killed them as easily as a child breaks dolls. purport. The atheist Kamsa wanted to kill Krishna just after his birth. He failed to do so, but after the atheist Kamsa wanted to kill Krishna, but after his birth, he failed to do so. But later on, he got information that Krishna was living in Vrindavan at the house of Nanda Maharaj. He therefore engaged many wizards who could perform wonderful acts and assume any form they liked. All of them appeared before the child Lord in various forms, like Aga, Baka, Putana, Sakata, Trenabarta, Denuka, and Garbhadaba. And they tried to kill the Lord at every opportunity. But one after another, all of them were killed by the Lord as if he were only playing with dolls. The Lord is the Lord at every stage. When he was playing just like a child on the lap of his mother, Yashodamai, or just like a cowherd boy with his transcendental friends, he continued to remain God without the slightest diminution of his 6 opulences. Thus, he is always
Unrivaled.
Thus, he is always unrivaled. Yes, thank you.
Somebody want to take a little minute and explain to us who these different demons are? Gopapatni, go for it.
Well, Aga was this, you mean, what do they look like?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
Okay. Agasura, the picture right there, the big snake, all the coward boys said, Krishna will surely save us. They all marched in, and then Krishna went in and blew it up. Bakasura, I'm pretty sure, Bakasura, that was the demon who, the bird, right?
Yes.
Right. And he bifurcated his
Beak.
Krishna just like grabbed his beak and like split him. Putana was dressed as the goddess of fortune when she appeared, and she offered her breast to Krishna, and he sucked her life out. She turned back into the horrible demoness she was, huge, many miles long. Trinavarta, down to the crown, sinful Trinavarta. He was the big whirlwind. Now, Denaka. Ooh, I don't know who the Gardarbha was. That was a new one for me. And I was reading in the, I think it was Mamantara also said that she didn't know that one either.
Right. Denuka and Garbhada are actually the same person. Denukasura was the ass demon, and Garbhadasura is also the ass demon. That's the same. And then who's the Shakatasura?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Anybody else?
That's the wooden cart.
The what?
The wooden cart that
Wooden
Krishna
cart. Yes.
Yeah.
Krishna tipped over the cart. Good, Premananda.
Yeah, it's like he didn't have like a body, right?
Oh, that he took that body. He took the wooden cart as a body.
Yes.
Which shows you can take anything as a body.
Yes.
Because you can make anything move if the soul is inside of it.
This is actually stated here. He therefore engaged many wizards who could perform wonderful acts, such as assume any form they liked. Thank you.
Okay. Did you want to read the next one, Manvantara? I don't know how many are left here. Go on.
Text 32. The Supreme Lord Krishna desired to utilize the opulent financial strength of Maharaj Nanda for worship of the cows. And also he wanted to give a lesson to Indra, the king of heaven. Thus he advised his father to perform worship of Go, or the pasturing lands and the cows, with the help of learned brahmanas. Purport. As we have already discussed in the second canto of this literature, one who admits the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not need to worship the secondary demigods. Sometimes being worshipped and adored by less intelligent living beings, the demigods become puffed up with power and forget the supremacy of the Lord. This happened when Lord Krishna was present in the universe, and thus the Lord wanted to give a lesson to the King of Heaven, Indra. He therefore asked Maharaj Nanda to stop the sacrifice offered to Indra and to use the money properly by performing a ceremony worshiping the cows and the pasturing ground on the hill of Govardhan. By this act, Lord Krishna taught human society, as he has instructed in the Bhagavad Gita also, that one should worship the Supreme Lord by all acts and by all the results. That will bring about the desired success. The Vaishyas are specifically advised to give protection to the cows and their pasturing ground for agricultural land instead of squandering their hard-earned money. That will satisfy the Lord. The perfection of one's occupational duty, whether in the sphere of duty to oneself, one community, or one's nation, is judged by the degree to which the Lord is satisfied.
Wow. Thank you. I see that Chaitamayi raised her hand, but before you speak, Chaitamayi, I wanted Manvantara to tell me about what is the proper use of money. Prabhupada talks about the proper use of money as opposed to the
engage
improper.
in the Lord's service is what he's saying.
Yeah.
To engage in the service of the Lord.
Yeah. Why is that? Why is that the proper use? What happens when we don't do that?
Yeah, I find just personal experience in reading all of this that it makes no sense otherwise. You just become burdened by the results of the karmic response of dealing with material energy.
Good.
It becomes very frustrating if it's not utilized properly. And it's so hard in this material world to utilize, especially money, properly. So I just have the concept of just surrendering to Krishna, but also you have to do it in such a way that, you're not attached to it. You know what I mean? So yeah, you have to realistically just surrender it to the service of Lord Krishna.
Very good, because
Find peace
karma,
comes from that.
you said the magic word, karma,
Yeah.
right? It's either you will definitely get a karmic reaction for anything that we do that isn't in the service of the Lord. And that karmic reaction, even if it's good, you get the other side too. So thank you for that, Manvantara. Thank you so much. Chaitamayi, did you have something to say?
Yes, thank you, Manvantara. I hope I was paying attention, but seems like we skipped over verse 31.
Yeah, I didn't, this is just a review, so I didn't include all the verses.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, we're hoping that everyone is reading this, getting into it during the week, so that when we discuss these things, we have more of a background of what we're talking about, and that this is not the first time we're hearing it, because obviously when you read anything more than once, you get a better idea what to speak about transcendental literature. These books are very, very important. We've read them over and over and over again for years, and you don't stop learning. You go deeper. That's what it means to go deeper into Krishna consciousness through hearing, So we're hoping that everyone will take advantage of this group effort to develop a taste here for Krishna.
It's a very beautiful group. Thank you so much, Samapriya.
Hare Krishna. Pati, did you want to say something before we skip to the next chapter?
We're on one more slide. You must have the old one up.
Oh, really? Okay. Oh, really? Yeah, I do have the old one. Sorry. Okay, Guru Prasadam, would you like to read this one? Unmute yourself, please.
Okay.
There you go. Hare Krishna.
3.2.36 to 34. O sober Vidura, King Indra, his honor having been insulted, poured water incessantly on Vrindavan, and thus the inhabitants of Braja, the land of cows, were greatly distressed. But the compassionate Lord Krishna saved them from danger with his pastimes umbrella, the Govardhan Hill. In the third season of the year, the Lord enjoyed as the central beauty of the assembly of women by attracting them with his pleasing song in an autumn night brightened by moonshine. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Before leaving the lands of cows, Vrindavan, the Lord pleased his young girlfriends, the transcendental gopis, in his Rasa Lila pastime. Here, Uddhava stopped his description of the Lord's activities. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of Sir Cantos of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Remembrance of Lord Krishna.
Thank you. Do you have something to say about that? What does that make you think of, Guru Prasadam?
My English is not good, so I cannot think in English. So all my thoughts come in Spanish. So I have to
think it. Say it. It's difficult. One word. Because you can think in Spanish. Okay, I don't want to pressure you, my darling. Please forgive me, but it's so nice to have you here amongst us. I'm really glad that.
Mataji, he can say in Spanish and I can be translating right away.
Do you want to say it in Spanish? Diga en español. Okay, and then Elizabeth, she'll do translation.
But it's like I see here. It's like a resume of the
summary.
Last time, no? So
yeah, that's it exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So comes to my mind all the lessons that Krishna teach to Indra and all these things.
Yeah.
No, nothing special to say.
That's very special. The lesson that Krishna teaches to Indra. What is that lesson? I mean,
about his pride, no, and how he forget that he's a servant of the Lord.
Good.
Remember him.
That's beautiful. Thank you. That was perfect. The lesson, and poor Indra, sometimes I feel sorry for Indra because he's always, he is the king of heaven after all, but we're always finding fault with Indra. Indra is so we're free from pride, but it is true that he's the pride of Indra, big pride. And we understand that pride also, it's hard to become a servant if you're proud. Thank you so much. That was a perfect explanation of that. Thank you. So now we're going to go on to the next chapter, which, Pachi, did you want to say something before we continue?
No.
Okay. Ian, do you want to read the first verse in the next chapter? You have to unmute, Ian. Oh, you are unmuted.
Yeah, okay. Can you hear me now?
Louder. Make it louder.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you, darling. Thank you.
So 3.3.1, Sri Uddhava continued. Thereafter, Lord Krishna went to Mathura city with Sri Baladev, and to please their parents, they dragged Kamsa, the leader of public enemies down from his throne and kill him, pulling him along the ground with great strength. Kamsa was a great giant, and Vasudeva and Devaki never thought that Krishna and Baladev would be able to kill such a great and strong enemy. When the two brothers attacked Kamsa on the throne, their parents feared that now Kamsa would finally get the opportunity to kill their sons, whom they had hidden for so long in the house of Nanda Maharaj. The parents of the Lord, due to parental affection, felt extreme danger, and they almost fainted, just to convince them that they had actually killed Kamsa. Krishna and Baladev pulled Kamsa's dead body along the ground to encourage them.
Thank you. Just read the next one also, and then you can say something.
Actually,
about
there's
it.
something important
Oh,
that I wanted to bring up. This
Okay.
particular photograph is of a place on the banks of the Jamuna called Vishram Ghat. And this is where Krishna and Balaram pulled Kamsa's body to. Vishram means to rest.
Okay.
So in order to show Devaki and Vasudev, who had been tortured by Kamsa for so many years, killing their previous 6 children and keeping them in prison all that time. So he was a big demon in their lives. And after they killed him in the wrestling arena, then they dragged his body along the streets of Mathura, came to this place called Vishram Ghat. Now keep this in mind. For those of you who read the forums, Manvantara asked about Narakasura and him being killed by Krishna. And he was the son of Daitri, of the earth personified. That will also be part of the tapestry of the universal history. And Vishram Ghat will also be mentioned. I'll talk about that later in the presentation. But that's why I use this here. Vishram Ghat, not only Krishna rested here, other forms of the Lord and incarnations also rested here. But go ahead to the next
Ian.
one, Ian.
Okay, Ian. Thank you for that. That's we've been there to Vishram Ghat in the Torah, and it's a really special, wonderful place. Go on, Ian. Can you?
Okay.
Yes.
Text 2. Lord
Yes.
learned all the Vedas with their different branches simply by hearing them once from his teacher, Sandip Panimuni, whom he rewarded by bringing back his dead son from the region of Yamalok. Purport: the Lord is constitutionally well versed in all the Vedas, and yet to teach by example that everyone must go to learn the Vedas from an authorized teacher and must satisfy the Lord, the teacher by service and reward. He himself adopted this system. The Lord offered his services to his teacher, Sandipani Muni. And the Muni, knowing the power of the Lord, asked something which was impossible to be done by anyone else. The teacher asked that his beloved son, who had died, be brought back to him. And Lord fulfilled the request. The Lord is not, therefore, an ingrate to anyone who renders him some sort of service. The devotees of Lord who always engage in his loving service are never to be disappointed in the progressive march of devotional service.
Thank you, Ian. Tell me something about Krishna not being an ingrate, how he's always grateful for the service rendered by his devotees. How does that make you feel as a devotee?
Yeah, I was thinking an ingrate is somebody who doesn't show gratitude for something that is done.
Right.
Would that be correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so it's not an ingrate, anyone who renders him some sort of service. So the Lord reciprocates whatever service that you do for the Lord. He reciprocates.
And if you don't do service, he also reciprocates, right?
Yes, you serve either as internal or external energy. So there's also. And just a point that in terms of setting certain standards, they went to the school. They never had to go to the school, but they went to the school to teach us that one should learn from an authorized teacher and
Right.
most satisfied teacher by service and reward. So he brought back his dead son, which was, impossible for anyone to do except for the Lord. So that's very important there.
Yeah, because he's not an ingrate. So he did
Right.
something that no one else could do,
Yeah.
really. Thank you, Ian.
Okay,
That's
well,
really.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
But did you want to say something else?
I mean,
Ian?
for me, or could you
Yeah,
bring back? Could you bring back? Let me see if I had something.
Could you bring back this, I think he walked out. I can't bring it back. Pati, can you bring that? I think he walked out for a second. Can you remember? Okay, well, when he comes back, then then we'll get back to you for a second, okay?
Okay.
Okay, hold that thought.
Yeah, okay.
Gopapatni, thank you. But Gopapatni ji, could you read?
Okay, hang
Thank
on.
you.
Srimad Bhagavatam 333. Attracted by the beauty and fortune of Rukmini, the daughter of King Bhishmaka, many great princes and kings assembled to marry her. But Lord Krishna, stepping over the other hopeful candidates, carried her away as his own share, as Garuda carried away nectar. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Since the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, is the property of the Supreme Lord, Rukmini was actually meant for Lord Krishna. But Shishupal was selected as her bridegroom by Rukmini's elder brother. Although King Bhishmaka wanted his daughter to be married to Krishna, Rukmini invited Krishna to take her away from the clutches of Shishupal. So when the bridegroom, Shishupal, came there with his party with the desire to marry Rukmini, Krishna all of a sudden swept her from the scene, stepping over the heads of all the princes there, just as Garuda carried away nectar from the hands of the demons.
Wow. What do you got to say about that?
There was a lecture given once by Hridayananda Maharaj many years ago. And it might have been on this verse, but I just remember he was saying that Rukmini, when Krishna came on his chariot to kidnap her, she was on the chariot, but she was not just like, oh, I'm here on the chariot. He said she took the reins and she was getting the horses. Yeah. And Krishna was in the back and he was, with his arrows or whatever he had that's what I always remember from this pastime. That Rukmini was not just this little princess sitting on the chariot. She was driving the chariot and Krishna was fending off all the princes and kings that came to try to marry her.
Yeah.
And
Kshatriya. Good.
Yeah.
Kshatriya princess. Thank you. I wanted you to read the next slide, but I think my husband is back now. Pati, are you there? Could you put it on the previous slide? Because Ian had another comment to make about that. There you go, Ian. Could you tell us what you wanted to? Unmute yourself, Ian.
Okay, in the text, the Lord learned all the Vedas with their different branches simply by hearing them once from his teacher. Okay, so we know, especially now, our memories are very short, so we have to learn other things over and over. But being the Lord, just once, and that was it. So that was very significant there.
Very.
Learning
The kind
all
of
the branches. Yeah.
The kind of person, there's a name for that, after hearing once, Shrutidar it's called, right?
Okay.
I think it's Shrutidar. A person who just hearing once, he remembers everything. And of course, with our Kali Yuga minds, you're right, Ian, we don't remember you know, sometimes I forget the thing when I start a sentence and then I forget the end of it. But maybe that's, I don't know what that is. But that's why it's another reason why we have to keep reading these books. That has to be in our consciousness, it's transcendental knowledge. Because we're filling our minds, and Maya's there, she's trying to fill us with so much other distraction. So I'm encouraging you again to continue reading this, get into it, because if you're not going to get into this, definitely you'll be getting into something else. Thank you, Ian. That was a very good point.
Okay.
The Lord remembers everything. He even knew it before it was told to him, but he did set that perfect example. Okay, so Gopapatni, why don't you continue? And just one question, Tisha, you definitely don't want to read?
Actually, I wanted to suggest, Tisha, if you turn off the video, then you can probably read because the bandwidth will be okay for the audio only.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, Gopa's going to read the next verses, and then Tisha, you can read for a while, okay, for the next two slides.
Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam 3, 3, 4, 5. By subduing 7 bulls whose noses were not pierced, the Lord achieved the hand of Princess Nanjijiti. Did I say that right?
Nagnijiti.
Nagnijiti in the open competition to select her bridegroom. Although the Lord was victorious, his competitors asked the hand of the princess, and thus there was a fight. Well equipped with weapons, the Lord killed or wounded all of them, but he himself was not hurt. Just to please his dear wife, the Lord brought back the Parijata tree from heaven, just as an ordinary husband would do. But Indra, the king of heaven, induced by his wives, henpecked as he was, ran after the Lord with full force to fight him. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Just to please his wife, like an ordinary husband, the Lord brought back the tree, and this enraged Vrajri, or the controller of the thunderbolt. Indra's wives inspired him to run after the Lord to fight, and Indra, because he was henpecked husband and also a fool, listened to them and dared to fight with Krishna. He was a fool on this occasion because he forgot that everything belongs to the Lord. There was no fault on the part of the Lord, even though he took away the tree from the heavenly kingdom. But because Indra was henpecked, dominated by his beautiful wives like Shachi, he became a fool, just as all persons who are dominated by their wives are generally foolish. Indra thought that Krishna was a henpecked husband who only by the will of his wife, Satyabhama, took away the property of heaven, and therefore he thought that Krishna could be punished. He forgot that the Lord is the proprietor of everything and cannot be henpecked. The Lord is fully independent, and by his will only he can have hundreds and thousands of wives, like Satyabhama. He was not therefore attached to Satyabhama because she was a beautiful wife, but he was pleased with her devotional service and thus wanted to reciprocate the unalloyed devotion to his devotee.
Thank you, Gopa. There we go again with Krishna reciprocating, wanting to reciprocate. Tell me something about that.
Well, there's Indra again. But yeah, she desired this beautiful flower because it's so heavenly, the fragrance of it, and so he brought it back to her because Satyabhama was, she's probably one of the 8 principal wives. I'm not sure.
Oh, definitely, she is.
She is. She's one of the yeah. And she was so devoted to him, and she said she liked that flower, and so he brought it back for her. And meanwhile, the Leela of him fighting Indra again. So
Yeah. Well,
the henpecked and Indra's
right. Krishna is
Krishna's
henpecked. Krishna's henpecked for devotional service, that's for sure. And
Yeah.
why did she want to have that flower brought back? So that she could put it in her garden so Krishna could appreciate it. So for his service, actually,
Right.
a devotee is
Yeah.
only motivated to please Krishna in everything that she does, Satyabhama. So that's our example. What was that, Gopa? Did you want to say something?
No, I was going to say, wasn't she also jealous that Krishna had brought back some of those Parijata flowers for Rukmini, and she wanted the tree now, not just
that's
flowers.
that's her mood. We see that also in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. The mood of Satyabhama is that she has a jealous kind of love, jealous anger kind of love, but this is also pleasing ultimately for Krishna. So but that's true. Thank you, Madhurya. In fact, I was going to ask you to read the next slide for us, if you would, the next couple, I think.
I thought we had Tisha, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Tisha, right, Tisha, and then you. I'm sorry.
Thank
Tisha.
you.
Okay, darling.
Thank you. Okay, Srimad Bhagavatam 3, 6 through 9. Narakasura, the son of Daritri, the earth, tried to grasp the whole sky, and for this he was killed by the Lord in a fight. His mother then prayed to the Lord. This led to the return of the kingdom to the son of Narakasura, and thus the Lord entered the house of the demon. There in the house of the demon, all the princesses kidnapped by Narakasura at once became alert upon seeing the Lord, the friend of the distressed. They looked upon him with eagerness, joy, and shyness, and offered to be his wives. All these princesses were lodged in different apartments, and the Lord simultaneously assumed different bodily expansions, exactly matching each and every princess. He accepted their hands in perfect rituals by his internal potency. Just to expand himself according to his transcendental features, the Lord begot in each and every one of them 10 offspring with exactly his own qualities.
Go on.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It is said in other Puranas that Narakasura was the son of Daritri, the earth, by the Lord himself, but he became a demon due to the bad association of Vana, another demon. An atheist is called a demon, and it is a fact that even a person born of good parents can turn into a demon by bad association. Birth is not always the criteria for goodness. Unless and until one is trained in the culture of good association, one cannot become good. Narakasura kidnapped many daughters of great kings and kept them imprisoned in his palace. But when he was killed by the Lord and the Lord entered the house of the demon, all the princesses were enlivened with joy and offered to become his wives, because the Lord is the only friend of the distressed. Unless the Lord accepted them, there would be no chance of their being married, because the demon kidnapped them from their father's custody, and therefore no one would agree to marry them. According to Vedic society, girls are transferred from the custody of the father to the custody of the husband. Since these princesses had already been taken away from the custody of their fathers, it would have been difficult for them to have any husband other than the Lord himself. By his internal potency, the Lord can expand himself into various personalities of Swayam Prakasha, and again into Prabhava and Vaibhava forms, and all of them are non-different from one another. The forms into which the Lord expanded to marry the princesses in different apartments were all slightly different, just to match each and every one of them. They are called Vaibhava Vilasha, forms of the Lord, and are affected by his internal potency, Yoga Maya.
Thank you, Tisha. Leave that slide for a second. What about this last line? Here we go again, how Krishna is reciprocating with his devotee. Start reading the forms into which the Lord expanded, that last paragraph.
The forms into which the Lord expanded to marry the princesses in different apartments were all slightly different, just to match each and every one of them.
Just to match each and every one of them.
Yeah.
Isn't that sweet? Isn't
Yeah.
Krishna sweet to do something like that? Yeah? What do you think, Tisha?
Yeah, I love that part, because I just imagine that the princesses were suffering alone in their little apartments in jail. And then when they felt that Krishna was in the building, he was in the room or whatever, they got enlivened and excited. And so that all of their sacrifice of loneliness and suffering was transformed into, the greatest mood of all. And then they got to marry Krishna, and they all had their own Krishna. So I just love that story.
Yeah, they had their own Krishna, and Krishna related to them, each one of them, the way she wanted to be related to. There we
Yeah.
go with individuality again. Krishna knows what each of us wants and how to relate to each of us. So Elizabeth, thank you so much, Tisha. That's a really wonderful point there. Elizabeth, did you want to say something? I saw that you had.
I was just thinking about how Indra was thinking that Krishna had become so proud, when he had taken the Indra festival away. Indra thought, oh, this little Krishna is so puffed up, and he was the one that was puffed up, and now and he thought again that Krishna was henpecked, but he was the one that was henpecked again, because his wife said, oh, you go and you solve this situation. So he went. And so I was thinking, these pastimes of Krishna are so good for us, because Krishna is saying things to us. Krishna is saying, when you think that somebody is being impatient, look at yourself, because probably you're being impatient,
Okay, very good.
I got that.
Very, very good. I was just thinking the same thing, how when we are pointing a finger at someone else, there's few more pointing in your direction, right? So before we're so quick to criticize others, actually, if we see something that's and really getting into it, check our own hearts to see why is that so important to us that we criticize someone else. Thank you, Elizabeth. That was a very good point.
Sama.
We have one more.
Yeah,
Pati, did you want to say something?
Yes, let's have Manvantara read the next slide.
Well, Madhurya Leela didn't read yet.
She can
and
read
that's
after
the last
this.
one.
No,
That's
it isn't.
fine. It
Oh,
really
there's
is.
a new one.
No,
There's
you have you should update your slides.
Oh, I got mixed up.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. But Manvantara
Sorry.
asked a question in the
Manvantara.
forum discussions, and I wanted to cover it. So Manvantara, read
Okay.
your question.
Okay.
and
I
explain
don't
it.
have familiarity of this pastime of Lord Krishna in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 3, Text 6, which briefly addresses Nakasura as the demonic son of Lord Sri Krishna, obviously in a previous era. There's got to be more to this pastime, and I gather that one of the reasons this Dayati tree was in the form of the earth, who was in the form of the earth, is now one of the principal queens of Lord Sri Krishna and accompanied him. The details elude me and are convoluted due to the time factor. If you have familiarity with this pastime, there's so many. Please share the details of Lord Sri Krishna and Mother Dayatatri's son, Nakasura. Otherwise, I'm appreciating Srila Prabhupada's purport. Due to the bad association of Bana, another demon, the son became atheistic. And it is a fact that even a person born of good parents can turn into a demon by bad association. Birth is not always the criterion of goodness. Unless and until one is trained in the culture of good association, one cannot become good. Purport of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 3, Text 6.
Okay, thank you. So this gives us an opportunity to appreciate the tapestry of Vedic literature. Let's see, where did Prabhupada put this? Here it says, it is said in other Puranas that Narakasura was the son of Dayitri, the earth, by the Lord himself. Obviously, we're reading a synopsis of the Lord's pastimes as being remembered by Uddhava, and he's remembering that killing of Narakasura. How is Narakasura the son of Krishna? That's described way back in the Vishnu Purana and the Brahma Purana, that when and we'll read later in this third canto about the advent of different demons that were originally doorkeepers in Vaikuntha Loka, Jai and Vijay. And the first demon that was manifest at the beginning of the creation and from the Jai and Vijay incarnations was Hiranyaksha, and of course Hiranyakasipu. Hiranyaksha, you remember, he was a great demon that exploited gold from the earth planet. And due to his extracting so much gold from its natural positions in the earth fell off its axis and fell into the Garbhodaka ocean. So the Lord advented as Lord Varaha from the nostril of Brahma and picked up the earth with his tusks and placed it back in its proper orbit. What's not described in Srimad Bhagavatam or in this particular Leela is that then, after saving the earth, Lord Varaha took a form and rested at Vishramghat, where we had described earlier, where Krishna and Balaram dragged Kamsa's body. And he rested there in a form where he could speak to Mother Earth, Dairitri, in her form. And he spoke what's called the Adi Varaha Purana. It's famous for us Gaudiya Vaishnavas because in that book, there's a lot of description of Mathura and how it's dear to the Lord. And of course, he's speaking to the earth and it's part of her body. So that's very beautiful. And in their discussion, they also became intimate and produced the son, Nara. Nara, unfortunately, had bad association, as we read in the purport, with Banasura and became demoniac. Now, what happened was that Narakasura became so powerful that he actually defeated all the other kings on earth and then desired to become immortal, similar to Hiranyakasipu's mode and mood. So he performed great austerities and penances and sacrifices to Lord Brahma, who, just like Hiranyakasipu, came to Narakasura, Naraka, and asked him what he wanted. He said, I want to become immortal. He said, I can't do that. So he said, then I want the boon that I can't be killed unless my mother gives permission. He was thinking that no mother would ever give permission that her son could be killed. So he said, I want this boon that I'll only be killed by someone when my mother gives permission. So Lord Brahma gave him that boon. So he became extremely powerful. He stole Aditi's earrings, the mother of the demigods, and Varuna's umbrella. These are all described in the Vishnu Purana and the Brahma Purana. And he was ruling in Pragjyotishtpur. So when Aditi's earrings were stolen and Narakasura became so powerful in heaven, Indra and his mother, Aditi, came to Dwarka and they were complaining that this demon is causing great havoc. And in private, Aditi explained to Satyabhama that he had stolen her earrings and was keeping 16,000 princesses in his quarters, that he had kidnapped these girls. And of course, Satyabhama became enraged and disturbed by his demoniac activities. So when Krishna understood this whole situation, he invited Satyabhama to come with him when he was going to go fight with Narakasura. So he asked, this is also described, if you read Krishna book, I think it's in chapter 60, depending on which volume of Krishna book you have. So Narakasura had a general named Mura, the Mura demon. Krishna killed him with the Sudarshan Chakra. And then there was a great battle between Narakasura and Krishna, who was on Garuda's back with Satyabhama. And as this demon started hurling all kinds of heavy, massive weapons, he threw the different weapons, and Krishna counteracted them with different astras. And Satyabhama became so disturbed. Now, it's described in that Purana that Satyabhama, as one of the eternal goddesses of fortune, is a Shakti Tattva from the spiritual world. And the female potencies in the material world, such as Durga and Mother Earth, are expansions of those internal Shaktis. So in one sense, Daitri, Mother Earth, is an expansion of Satyabhama. So when Satyabhama was on the back of Garuda and this demon was hurling the arrows, she told Krishna, kill him immediately, which the Puranas are saying that means that the mother gave permission to kill Narakasura, and thus Krishna was able to kill him. Then Mother Earth offered wonderful prayers and brought his son, named Begotten, before Krishna and asked him to bless him that he could be king of that territory. So this is the basic story of how Narakasura is the son of the Lord from Varaha and Mother Earth.
So this is also the beginning. We see in there's nothing new in Kali Yuga. This was the beginning, perhaps, of women abuse. That's real abuse for women. Gather them all together and lock them up. That's pretty abusive. Okay, shall we go on now with Madhurya Leela reading the next, concluding this for us?
Is that clear, Manvantara?
Okay, she likes it. Madhurya, can you
Yes.
read? Okay.
Can you scroll it down a bit? I can't see the top of it.
I don't think there is a top. That's just
Okay,
it.
let's see. Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam 3:23, 10 to 11. Kalayavana, the king of Magadha, and Shalva attacked the city of Mathura. But when the city was encircled by their soldiers, the Lord refrained from killing them personally, just to show the power of his own men. Oh, of kings like Shambhara, Bidvida, Bana, Mura, Balabala, and many other demons such as Dantabakra, some he killed himself, and some he caused to be killed by others, Shri Baladev, etc. Purport. After the death of Kamsa, when Mathura was encircled by the soldiers of Kalayavana, Jarasandha and Shalva, the Lord seemingly fled from the city, and thus he is known as Ranchor, or one who fled from fighting. Actually, the fact is that the Lord wanted to kill them through the agency of his own men, devotees like Muchukunda and Bhima. Kalyavana and the king of Magadha were killed by Muchukunda and Bhima, respectively, who acted as agents of the Lord. By such acts, the Lord wanted to exhibit the prowess of his devotees, as if he were personally unable to fight, but his devotees could kill them. The relationship of the Lord with his devotees is a very happy one. Actually, the Lord descended at the request of Brahma in order to kill all the undesirables of the world, but to divide the share, but to divide the share of glory, he sometimes engaged his devotees to take the credit. The battle of Kurukshetra was designed by the Lord himself, but just to give credit to his devotee Arjuna, Nimita Matra Bhava Savyasachin, he played the part of the charioteer while Arjuna was given the chance to play the fighters. and thus become the hero of the battle of Kurukshetra. What he wants to do himself by his transcendental plans, he executed through his confidential devotees. This is the way of the Lord's mercy towards his pure unloyed devotees.
That made me think of Prabhupada. The Lord executes his plans through his confidential devotees. So Prabhupada certainly is a confidential devotee of the Lord, and he certainly executed the Lord Chaitanya's plan by spreading the Sankirtan movement. Do you have something to say more about that, Madhurya, or do you want to just continue reading here?
No, that's good.
Okay, let's go on
somebody
to the
else
next.
to read?
No, you can read. I think everyone's read.
Okay, this is tracks 12 to 13. Then, O Vidura, the Lord caused all of the kings, both the enemies and those on the side of your fighting nephews, to be killed in the battle of Kurukshetra. All those kings were so great and strong that the earth seemed to shake as they traversed the war field. Duryodhana was bereft of his fortune and duration of life because of the intricacy of ill advice given by Karna, Dushasana, and Subal. When he lay on the ground with his followers, his thighs broken, although he was powerful, the Lord was not happy to see the scene. Her part. The fall of Duryodhana, the leading son of Dhritarashtra, was not pleasing to the Lord, although he was on the side of Arjuna, and it was he who advised Bhima how to break the thighs of Duryodhana while the fight was going on. The Lord is constrained to award punishment upon the wrongdoer, but he is not happy to award such punishments because the living entities are originally his parts and parcels. He is harder than the thunderbolt for the wrongdoer and softer than the rose for the faithful. The wrongdoer is misled by bad association and by ill advice, which is against the established principles of the Lord's order, and thus he becomes subject to punishment. The surest way to happiness is to live by the principles laid down by the Lord and not disobey his established laws, which are enacted in the Vedas and in the Puranas, for the forgetful living entities.
Thank you, Victoria. This also struck me how the Lord was not pleased to see the fall of Duryodhana. Even though he was such a rascal, it was sad in a way. It was very sad that this cherished son of Dhritarashtra, who was also misled, this whole thing was a sad situation. I also felt very sad when I was reading that, and that's a quality in Krishna that is very wonderful. That he is equal to everyone. He loves everyone equally, and he was saddened to see the fall of the great king Duryodhana, because it is also said that aside from hating the Pandavas, he was a good king. He took care of the citizens, and he did what he felt was the right thing to do. So his demise was actually a sad event. So anyone,
like the parents also, they're if they love the child, they have to punish him or her to rectify the child.
Yeah.
So it's not a pleasant thing, but it needs to be done.
Right. Thank you. Elizabeth, did you want to say something?
I had noticed, I wrote in the forum too, the same entity that, that Krishna doesn't like, so although he has to award punishment, he doesn't take, pleasure out of, making the living entities, be punished. But then I thought the bad association is a key there, because as soon as we have bad association, then we're gonna be engaging in these sinful activities, and then the punishment has to happen. So we can do that part. We can read the Vedas, see what are the instructions, and not disobey them, and that way we help that process.
Good, very good. It's interesting that the bad association referred to here was Bali Maharaj, who was one of the Mahajans. the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj, and we'll read that further on.
Who-
But he is a great
who's-
devotee.
Who is,
But he-
how is he bad association for Duryodhana?
Not for, no, oh, that was in the previous verse, sorry.
No, that
Narakasura.
that also wasn't Bali, that was Banasura.
No, put it back, didn't it say, oh, really? Wait a second. His association. My God. I thought I read Bali. I was wrong. Maybe I didn't read Bali.
Because the demon due to bad association of Bana.
Oh, Banasa. Sorry, just see. You have to be very careful. I'm sorry. Hare
No
Krishna.
problem. But
Okay.
anyway, it's an interesting kind of quirk because from his very birth, Duryodhana was bad. He didn't become bad by his association. He was bad from birth. When he was born, he brayed like a donkey, according to the Mahabharata. And the sages and saints told Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, get rid of him, kill him.
Vidura told him.
Oh,
It was Vidura. It was Vidura who told him.
Imagine that, a
kill him.
child, a baby. But he was bad from the beginning.
Yeah, Krishna's
But
so
I've
kind.
heard also that Duryodhana is also, I don't know if an eternal, you don't call an eternal associate of Krishna, but he came down here to play that role. As you know.
I think
Well,
Nanda's not with us today, but I remember we were at one reading and she had read in the Garga Samhita. You remember Garga Muni is the astrologer for Vasudev. And he wrote a book called the Garga Samhita, which tells a lot of the history of who's who in Krishna Lila, who they were in their previous lives. And apparently Duryodhana was a worshiper of Balaram, even in his previous life, because of course we know he was dear. He was a dear student of Balaram in this life.
Well, I also heard from someone who studies the Mahabharata that he actually came up from hell, even though he was worshiping Balaram. You know, so Krishna's pastimes are unlimited. Anyway.
But I think Elizabeth's point that we have to be super careful about who we associate with, who we give our time and attention to,
right,
is always there.
Right, that is true. Very, very
Jai,
important.
anything
That's
else
why.
from anybody? Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing that the association of devotees is one of the essential 5 most important points in devotional service, because we become who we associate with, and we want to become devotees. So it's a very cherished sangam. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all for your association.
So I want to thank you, Prabhu, and you, Mataji, because you are helping us. I found you, I would say randomly on Facebook, but obviously nothing is random. And I'm just so happy to have this course this Saturday and investing all the time in the reading. And that is what it is. We have to read and then we have to do Krishna Katha. So I just want to say thank you so much.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Thank you. Okay, so
everyone.
thank you all. We'll see you next week. Keep
Jai
reading
Vancha
Prabhupada's
Kalpatarubyascha,
books.
Kripa
Bunch of
Sindhubhyascha,
Kripa Sindhubhyascha, Pritana Pavana,
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Bol, Hare Bol.
Enjoy the festival.
Thank you. Thank you.
I miss it.
Put it on your schedule next year. We'll tell you when.
Yes, I will definitely.